Are there monsters living in the darkest depths of our planet? Is it possible for a gigantic beast to hide underneath our small towns without anyone knowing? Well, today we're going to find out. Welcome back, I'm here. And today we're going to look at the bizarre case of something living under this small U.S. town. What is this mysterious creature? What do people think it could be? And why does it seem to be hiding from us? Let's talk about it. Before we get into this story, let me know what you think might be living under this small town. What sort of monster could it be? Now, if you've ever heard of or seen the movie Tremors, then you'll understand why so many people were afraid when they heard about this case. In that movie, a bunch of gigantic worms live under the ground in a small Western American town. They sense danger through vibrations and eat anything that comes close. Of course, in the film, these creatures are eventually killed off, but not before wreaking havoc on the tiny desert town. The locals call them graboids, but they can also sense danger through sound and smell. So it doesn't matter how deep underground they are. If they hear or smell prey, they will come for it. In the film, it is nearly impossible to kill them as their skin is very tough and hard, making them resilient against bullets and explosives. But this isn't fiction. A lot of people believe that something similar may be hiding underneath our feet right now. This story was sent to me by a viewer. They say they were watching the news one night and saw a report that stopped them in their tracks. According to the news report, several people from the same small town had reported seeing strange things in the woods surrounding their homes. The sightings happened over a 2-week period, and all these people seemed to be telling the same story. Apparently, each of these people had been camping or hiking in the woods near their homes when they heard heavy footsteps nearby. But when they tried to find the source of these footsteps, they couldn't see anything. Some even said they felt the ground shake around them like an earthquake was happening. All of these people described the same thing, but no one ever saw what was making these sounds. Each time the footsteps got closer to their homes, but they were never actually spotted. There were no huge footprints found in the mud, and there were no large animals caught on camera. This whole case gets more bizarre as well, because there have been some unexplained animal deaths in this area. People had found dead cows and horses with strange wounds that couldn't be explained. It almost seemed like someone had sucked the life out of these animals and drained them of their blood. These animals weren't bitten or torn apart by predators, but instead they looked like they were completely drained of all their energy. Whatever did this left no trace behind, and this only added to the mystery of the woods. Now I'm sure a lot of you right now are thinking it was just a bear or some other wild animal that got away. But there's one more detail that is really hard to explain away. After these reports came out, scientists and researchers decided to use seismographs to try and find out what was happening. These devices measure things like earthquakes and other vibrations in the earth. Seismographs are used by geologists all over the world to study how our planet works. Geologists set up these machines all over the place where these sightings were happening. And after a while, they came back with some weird results. According to the seismographs, there were vibrations in the earth that matched the exact times when these people claimed to hear footsteps. It also seemed like whatever was causing these vibrations was coming from underneath the earth, moving around under our feet. So could there be some sort of gigantic beast living under this small town? Well, let's take a deeper look into this case and hopefully we can figure it out. Here's what we know. Several people from the same small town began to report hearing strange things in the forest surrounding their homes. These people heard heavy footsteps coming from the woods. Some of them even said that the ground shook beneath their feet. If it really did shake, then this wouldn't necessarily mean that there was something big moving around under the ground. Maybe it really was just a large animal moving through the forest. Big cats, such as mountain lions and cougars, can sometimes make the ground shake if they move heavy enough. And it's entirely possible that some wild animals may even drag their prey across the ground, making vibrations and noises that could be picked up by seismographs. So far, none of the witnesses were able to catch whatever was making these sounds. No one was able to get close enough to see what it was, and no cameras caught it doing anything strange. This means we don't actually know what it was that was moving through the woods. With that being said, there were also dead animals that were found in the area. Now, these animals didn't all die at the same time, but they were all found with weird injuries that couldn't be explained. Most of these dead animals seemed to have lost all their energy. There were dead horses and cows that were drained of all their blood. Some people thought maybe it was a vampire or some sort of blood-sucking creature that was targeting these animals, but that is still just a theory. we don't actually know what drained all the blood from these animals. There were also other animals found dead with severe bite wounds, but once again, no killer was ever caught in the act. There were no pictures of the bodies of these animals either, which makes it hard to tell exactly what happened to them. So we don't actually know for sure what happened to all these animals. Now, there is one final piece of evidence in this case that is really hard to explain away, and that is the seismographs. The recordings made by the seismographs prove that something was vibrating the ground at the same times people claim to hear strange footsteps. And if something is shaking the ground, then it must be underneath the ground. Animals don't always move around underneath the ground. They usually leave most of their movement to the surface. And if this thing was big enough to shake the ground, it would have been spotted long ago. But whatever was making those footsteps was moving underneath the surface of our feet. Now, these readings did get the attention of a geologist named Art McGrew. He took a look at the readings and said that they possibly could be caused by a giant underground rodent. He said that underground burrowing rodents can sometimes make the ground shake above them. And depending on how far under the ground they are, they may never be spotted. Rodents like pocket gophers can easily dig tunnels under the ground and sometimes cause the dirt to collapse above them. If these rodents were big enough, perhaps they could be mistaken for something much larger. However, the size of these footsteps would need to be gigantic for them to be shaking the ground that much. Even the largest burrowing rodents aren't going to be hundreds of feet long. So is there some undiscovered species of oversized burrowing rodent living under this small town? Could this creature be big enough to explain all of the sightings? Well, it's certainly possible. But in my opinion, I don't think that any rodent could be big enough to cause this much damage. Sure, a beaver or muskrat could make a burrow under the ground and maybe even drag itself along the tunnel every once in a while. But a rodent big enough to shake the ground and drain the blood from a cow simply doesn't exist. Whatever was making those footsteps wasn't a rodent. And if that's true, then what was it? Well, according to one researcher, he thinks it might have been a bison. Bison are large mammals that kind of look like giant buffalo. They can weigh over a ton and stand 6 feet tall. But bison tend to stick to grassy fields and not the wooded areas. But researchers did claim that there is a small herd of these animals living deep in the woods near where all these sightings occurred. It's entirely possible that something like a bison could make the ground shake as it moves through the soil. And it's also possible that these animals could attack livestock. However, there is still one piece of the puzzle that doesn't quite fit, and that is the seismographs. If it really was a bison, then why did it move so erratically? Bison don't usually run through the ground. They tend to stay on top of it. So what do you think this case could be? Is it possible that something is living underneath our feet right now? Is there a creature so big that we haven't discovered yet? Whatever it is, it seems to be hiding under our feet and has managed to go unknown for a long time. If you want to see another strange and scary case just like this one, then check out the video I made about the Beast of Bray Road. That video is available now. Just click on the link provided. If you want to see more videos from me in the future, please stay tuned. I'd appreciate it. Thank you for watching.